Okay.
I love sharing. And we know that we're about to witness. I think that's a word that we could use when it comes to Randy. He always has us laughing and learning, inspiring us. Is that kind of I know that you're used to coming behind Chrissy, so I'm trying to build you up a little bit.
Good luck with that.
Anyway, help me welcome Randy. Okay, you're on your own now.
And you're walking pretty good.
Yeah.
And you have jeans on.
What?
You have pants on.
Yeah.
What jeans?
She didn't recognize me with pants on. That's how you should have introduced me. Oh, yeah, seeing Chrissy up there today. She's gorgeous, by the way. I mean, it's just, I'm so proud. And seeing her in that dress, she actually bought that dress when I was pastor at South United Methodist Church. And of course, we were on a really strict budget, and when I saw it laying across the couch when I came home, I went, that's obviously not a Goodwill dress. And I said, honey, oh my gosh, you spent a lot of money on that dress. And she goes, honey, I was tempted. You know, I'm a preacher's daughter. The only thing I can't resist is temptation. And I said, honey, didn't you say what I told you to say? And she goes, yes, I said it. I said, get thee behind me, Satan. And I said, and? And she said, he said it looks pretty good from back here, too.
Here we go.
Yeah. But also in this hot weather, Chrissy's not a real water person. She'll take a bath, shower once in a while. But as far as going swimming, I love to swim. I'm an Aquarian. She's Gemini, which means she plays in the dirt. So together, we're actually the perfect couple because together we make mud. But every night I go down and I swim in the river with my dog. It's been really great for my leg. I think it's helped me heal really, really fast. And one year she said, honey, I would go with you to the river more. She goes, if I had one of those floaty things, like you see in the pools, you know, you see the beautiful women laying, you know, back reading a book and they're floating in the pool. So I thought, well, I'll just go online and get her one. I went online and those things are expensive. I mean, they start at like $200 and go up from there. So early one morning I had this inspiration and I thought, I'm just going to make a redneck floaty. And so I thought, this is going to be so easy. I went to Walmart and they had these pool noodles. You've seen those things, you know? And I thought, $1.99, says it'll hold up to 250 pounds. And I thought, should I get two? Oh, no, she's not even close to that. So I got one. And then everybody has those folding chairs, right? And so I took the pool noodle and I wrapped it around the folding chair and I wire tied it to the handles and I showed it to her and I said, honey, voila, redneck floaty. You know, you can come down to the river with me and you can float and I'm swimming with the dog. And I said, let's go down to Hell's Gate and try it out. So she wasn't too impressed, I could tell, but she was game. And so we went down, and as I'm taking this thing down to the dock, literally I attracted a crowd of people. They were going, oh my gosh, that's the coolest thing ever. Why didn't I think of that? That's amazing. And so we're all down at the dock, and this big crowd of people standing around Chrissy, and she's getting ready to do the big plunge. And she's holding on. She does this unceremonial jump. Her legs spread. She screams. She hits the water, and then boop, 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 boop. And we're all sitting there, looking and waiting, counting, 1001, 1002. And then all of a sudden you see bubbles coming up, and then a few minutes later, here comes Chrissy, flying to get on top of the water, screaming at the top of her lungs, and 100 hands reach down and pull her up on the dock. And it's amazing how the crowd changed. This is going to be important later on, because I'm going to tie this into the sermon. So, all of a sudden, I went from being this amazing inventor to the worst person on the planet. It's like, oh my gosh, how could anybody do that to their wife? That's the most horrible thing I've ever seen. So cruel. One lady even walked up to me and said, you're a monster. And I was like, so remember that. It's coming back.
That actually did happen.
Yeah, it's a true story.
It really did. Most of the stuff he talks about.
So another thing that'll resurface, I remember, we all have our challenges growing up, right? I was raised by a stepdad, and I don't think he liked me too much. And I remember the first time he took me fishing, And as I was swimming back to shore, I thought, swimming is a lot like fishing, or fishing is a lot like swimming. So remember that, look back. Now, some of you know or don't know that I was raised a Seventh-day Adventist, and so I spent a lot of time at the Seventh-day Adventist Indoctrination Center as I was growing up, called school, I guess. And I had a favorite teacher, and the way that the classrooms were constructed is each room, because the school was so small and we had so few students, that each teacher had multiple grades in the classroom. So in this particular class that I had, Mr. Anderson, we had 3 grades, 4th, 5th, and 6th. So I got to hear this illustration 3 times from the 4th, 5th, and 6th grades because he used it on the 4th graders every year. And it's kind of cool. So I want you to imagine I'm Mr. Anderson, and what he would do is he would hold up this jar of beans, and he would say, okay, I want everybody in here, take out a piece of paper, and I want you in one column to write down how many beans you think are in this jar. Okay? So everybody would take out their pen, and they would write down. And then he said, okay, and over here on next to that, I want you to write down at least 2 or 3 of your favorite songs. So everybody would write down their favorite songs. And then he would reveal to everybody afterwards, he'd say, okay, here's how many beans are actually in the jar. And then everybody would raise their hand and he'd say, okay, you came the closest to being right because you got the closest to the number. Then he said, as he read the list of all the songs that people had wrote down, he would say, all right, which one of these songs is the closest to being right? And it would be silent for a minute, and then everybody would go, wait a minute. Somebody's favorite song can't be right. It just is their favorite song. It's just a matter of choice, right? Or a matter of taste. So then he would ask the question that always got everybody thinking. He'd say, when you decide what to believe in terms of your faith, is that more like guessing the number of beans in the jar, or more like choosing your favorite song? So how many of you think that choosing your faith is more like guessing the number of beans in a jar, or choosing your favorite song? He said, wherever he went, whenever he told that story, and myself included, it didn't matter who you talked to, young or old, they all said that choosing your faith is like choosing your favorite song. Which one is right? It doesn't matter. It's a matter of personal taste. Here we are, my friends. We're here at the beginning of the Aquarian age. We're leaving the Piscean age. It brings the question, right? I think God has a real sense of humor because, that question's been around forever. What came first, the chicken or the egg? What came first? The Piscean age or the Aquarian age? What came first? The water or the fish? I love it. So what did God create first? If you hold any, value with the Bible and you believe the words that are in there, what did God create first? Do you remember? What was it? In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth, and the earth was without form and void, and the darkness was on the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters, and God said, let there be light. And there was light. My friends, we are witnessing a tsunami of truth. A tsunami of truth. I cannot even begin to describe to you the information that is flooding the earth right now. And this is part of that Aquarian age revealing itself, because the truth has to swipe and sweep away everything that we have come to know as truth to this point before we can move forward. Let's just talk about a few things. Talk about medicine, for example. The way we view healing. There have been technologies that have been held from us. One of them was Tesla. Tesla was called the master of light because he actually invented ultraviolet light. And he tested his invention on himself. He was hit by a cab one day, and he crawled up to his apartment where he had his lab. He had a broken arm, a broken leg, and multiple contusions. And he laid himself out on a table that he had created that had ultraviolet light coming from 2 towers that he had built in his lab. And literally within a matter of days, by changing the frequencies of the light that passed through his body, he healed his leg and his arm. and all the contusions, where he appeared to have no damage whatsoever of any kind. Now, when they discovered this technology, what did they do? They buried it, of course. Not having that out in the public, we can't have people healing themselves with light. We've got to have allopathic medicine. And then we have Einstein that said, when we discover the secrets of light, we will understand the universe. Google the Tesla Tower in Houston, Texas. It'll blow your mind. It's actually being built as we speak. What is that for? What's it going to do? What did Tesla discover? With one tower, he could power what? An entire continent. Wow. A tsunami of truth is coming. But there's a problem. A problem with all truth. I remember the story of the man who was wanting to buy a horse. So we went to the local county fair, and he was walking around, and he saw this distinguished Quaker dressed with his hat and his long black coat. And he had a horse for sale. And the farmer, knowing the Quaker's reputation with horses and raising them and growing them and training them, he went up to the Quaker and he asked the price. The Quaker told him the price. The man didn't even question it. He just took out the money and he paid for the horse on the spot. Well, when he got the horse home, he realized that the horse was lazy, ill-tempered, it kicked, it bit, it didn't want to do anything that he wanted the horse to do. So he was very frustrated. He went back to the fair the next day and he hunted down the Quaker and he said, "Hey, this horse is horrible." And the guy said, "Well, yeah, of course he is. You didn't ask me. You didn't ask me. I would have told you if you would have asked me." And he says, "I don't want to give the horse back. That's not why I'm here. That's not why I looked you up." He says, "I just want to sell it to someone else. Can I borrow your hat and coat for a few hours?" So you see, we have all this stuff that has been kept from us by people that wear the suit and the hat and have the titles and have our faith, and we look at them and we believe in them. They have an agenda, and they're keeping us in the dark, so to speak. But the tsunami of truth is coming, and with the tsunami, it wipes everything else away. I remember the first time my dad took me golfing, and as I was swimming back to shore, I thought, wow, golfing's a lot like fishing. So there's a story of once the devil was walking along with one of his apprentices. And they saw this man ahead, and all of a sudden he reached down and he picked up something shiny. And the man asked the devil, he said, "What did that man just find?" And he said, "Wow, he found a piece of the truth." And the man looked at the devil and he said, "Doesn't it bother you? Doesn't it bother you that he found a piece of the truth?" And the devil goes, "Nah, now I'll just see that he makes a religion out of it." A tsunami, my friends, of truth is coming. And it's coming through religion also. Everything you thought you believed is true. You know what the word religion is actually root of? Do you know how that word came into being? Ra legion. The legion of Ra. Look it up. Sun worshippers. Legion of Ra. Ra religion. So whenever you say old-time religion or religion, you're actually talking about the legion of Ra. It's crazy. I could do a whole sermon on just all the words that they've used to turn and cause our thinking to be totally convoluted and programmed. So, tsunami of truth about religion. Aliens, giants. Is the earth flat? The Matrix. Mysteries about our origin. Lost cities that are underwater that nobody can explain. Cities that have disappeared but had running water and sewer and electricity thousands and thousands of years ago. Who are we? The Bible talks about aliens. The Bible talks about giants. The Bible talks about people coming to earth in strange crafts. What's going to be revealed in this tsunami of truth? Are you ready for it? It's coming whether you want to be or not. I'm just giving you a heads up. It's a sad regret to have searched for the truth and to settle for an answer. Jesus said, "Seek the truth. The truth will make you free." Not seek an answer, because the answer will make you free. The truth will make you free. The truth is coming. The tsunami is going to wash everything away. There's going to be a tsunami of truth concerning politics. Anybody see anything information-wise coming out about politics? Oh my gosh. elections, leadership, royal bloodlines, Plato's cave. Who are the controllers that put the shadows on Plato's cave for us to see? Google Romana Didulo. That's a good one. Queen of Canada. So much is being revealed right now. So much. It's a tsunami of truth. It was Bernard Shaw that said, all great truths begin as blasphemies. Remember my story of the pool noodle chair, the redneck floating? Well, remember Jesus, the story of Jesus. He had done nothing but heal people, teach people, do miracles. And they put him on a donkey, and they put a wreath on his head. They put a scepter in his arms, and they put palm fronds in front of him as they paraded him into the city, and they said, "Hail, the King of the Jews." Then hours later, the same people that looked at him as their king stood in a mob and screamed, "Crucify him! Crucify him!" Why? Because he committed blasphemy. He said he was God. He didn't say he was God. He said, we're all God. You're God. You're God. We're all God. You can all do what I do. I'm no different. I'm just a messenger. Well, they killed the messenger, but they didn't kill the message. The message is still alive today. They say, don't keep searching for the truth. Just let go of your opinions. Let your opinions go. Let the truth come in. It's a tsunami. It's coming in. It's going to fill those empty spaces if you just release enough so that you have empty spaces. They also say when one has a handful of truth, it's not always wise to open it. How true is that? I remember when my dad first took me trick-or-treating. And as I was swimming back to shore, I realized it's really hard to swim in a panda suit. A tsunami of truth, my friends, concerning humanity, races, genders, slavery, what's acceptable, correctness, wokeness, take an E, drink that Coca-Cola. It's coming. It's going to expose everything you believe. It's going to expose everything you want to believe. It's going to expose all the stuff that you've held on to your entire life that you think defines you. And it's going to change you and me, all of us. But that's where it gets really good. Because when the tsunami comes through and wipes the slate clean, then it's up to us to do what? To rebuild it. To put it all back together again. Humpty Dumpty is a story of our now. Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. He had a great fall. All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty Dumpty back together again. This is going away. Something new is coming in, and it's going to be amazing. Robert Bellah is best known for his 1985 book, Habits of the Heart, which discusses how religion contributes to and detracts from America's common good. And so he interviewed a whole bunch of people that he wanted to use as illustrations in his book. And he said, this one person that I interviewed, her name was Sheila, and he said, she embodied what I wanted this book to represent more than any person I interviewed. And Sheila simply said, I believe in God. She says, I can't remember the last time that I went to church, but my faith has carried me a long way. It's Sheilaism. Just my own little voice. Do you have a little voice? Did you quit listening to your little voice? Is your little voice still there? Is it now trying to tap you on the shoulder and say, I'm here. Now you need me more than ever because I will help you navigate through this tsunami that's coming. A tsunami of truth is coming concerning commerce. What is blockchain? What is fiat currency? What is gold-backed? What is barter? What is Ubuntu? What is value? What is worth? What is the quantum financial system? Wow, changes. A tsunami is coming. The tsunami is wiping the slate clean so that only truth remains. I love that poem by Henry Wadsworth. And it says, the tide rises, the tide falls. The twilight darkens, the curlew calls. Along the sea sands damp and brown, the traveler hastens toward the town. And the tide rises, the tide falls. Darkness settles on roofs and walls, but the sea in darkness calls. The little waves with their soft white hands efface the footsteps in the sands. And the tide rises and the tide falls. The morning breaks, the steeds in their stalls stamp a neigh as the hostler calls. The day returns, but nevermore. Returns the traveler to the shore. And the tide rises, and the tide falls. Wow, a tsunami that wipes the sand clean, that leaves behind a clean slate for the imaginations of men and women. I remember my dad taking me to the prom. And it didn't turn out so well because my date didn't know how to swim. So there was a poem written by Maya Angelou, and I truly believe this woman's a time traveler. If you've ever studied any of her work, oh my gosh, it is so poignant. It is so visceral. It touches you in places that you cannot even possibly imagine. And she wrote this poem in 1995 at a meeting of the United Nations. And when I read it back then, I thought it was good. I thought it was very good. But I read it recently again and I thought, oh my gosh, that poem was written then for us now, for right here, right now. This poem is written for us. And the truth in this poem, the poem is amazing. It points out a lot of what we're going through in humanity right here in this moment. But the truth lies in the very last 2 or 3 lines of this poem. So listen to the poem and then catch the truth at the end. The title of the poem is called A Brave and Startling Truth. Said, we this people on a small and lonely planet, traveling through casual space, past aloof stars, across the way of a different sun, to a destination where all signs tell us it is possible and imperative that we learn a brave and startling truth. And when we come to it, to the day of peacemaking, when we release our fingers from fists of hostility and allow the pure air to cool our palms, when we come to it, when the curtain falls on the minstrel show of hate and faces sooted with scorn are scrubbed clean, when battlefields and coliseum no longer rake our unique and particular sons and daughters up with the bruised and bloody grass to lie in identical plots in foreign soil. When the rapacious storming of the churches, the screaming racket in the temples have ceased, when the pennants are waving gaily, when the banners of the world tremble stoutly in the good, clean breeze. When we come to it, when we let the rifles fall from our shoulders and children dress their dolls in flags of truce, when landmines of death have been removed and the aged can walk into the evenings of peace, when religious ritual is not performed and perfumed by the incense of burning flesh, and childhood dreams are not kicked awake by nightmares of abuse. When we come to it, then we will confess that not the pyramids with their stones set in mysterious perfection, nor the gardens of Babylon hanging as eternal beauty in our collective memory, nor the Grand Canyon kindled into delicious color by the western sunsets, nor the Danube flowing its blue soul into Europe, not the sacred peak of Mount Fuji stretching to the rising sun, neither Father Amazon nor Mother Mississippi, who, without favor, nurture all creatures in the depths and on their shores. These are not the only wonders of the world. When we come to it, we, this people on this minuscule and kithless globe, who reach daily for the bomb, the blade, and the dagger, who yet petition in the dark for tokens tokens of peace. We, this people, on this mode of matter, in whose mouths abide cankerous words which challenge our very existence. Yet out of those same mouths come songs of such exquisite sweetness that the heart falters in its labor and the body is quieted into awe. We, this people, on this small and drifting planet, whose hands can strike with such abandon that in a twinkling life is sapped from the living. Yet those same hands can touch with such healing, irresistible tenderness that the haughty neck is happy to bow, and the proud back is glad to bend. Out of such chaos, of such contradiction, we learn that we are neither devils nor divine when we come to it. We, this people, on this wayward floating body, created on this earth, of this earth, have the power to fashion for this earth a climate where every man, every woman can live freely, without sanctimonious piety, without crippling fear. When we come to it, we must confess that we are the possible, we are the miraculous, the true wonder of this world. That is when, and only when, we come to it. So I'll pose a question for you, and then I'll tell you a story, and then I'll end. What would we do, collectively? What would we do if we knew we could not fail? What would we do if we knew we could not fail? The story of George Danzig is a great illustration of that. He's a man that, from a very young age, he realized he had an aptitude for numbers, and he aspired to become a mathematician, and he went to college. And the professor had made an announcement that said that whoever got the highest score on the final exam would end up getting a small stipend from the university and would get to be his aide and help design, classes and stuff. And so George was desperate. He was working 3 jobs. He was trying to support himself, went hungry a lot of the time, and figured, man, if I could just ace this test, he said, I could desperately use a little extra money and time to work with the professor. So he studied and studied and studied and studied, and he studied so late into the night before the test that he fell asleep, and he slept through his alarm. Well, when he woke, he looked at his alarm and realized that the class had been going for 30 minutes, so he rushed to class, walked in, and there on the blackboard were 3 proofs that had to be proven. The first 2 he whipped through very quickly. The third one, he thought, wow, this is one of the toughest proofs I've ever encountered. And he worked, and towards the end of the class, he walked up to the professor and he said, man, I apologize, I'm late. And he said, I could use just a little more time to work on these problems. And the professor said, okay, George, you're a good student. And he said, yeah, there's no way you can cheat. If you didn't know this information, you couldn't prove any of the proofs anyway. So he said, bring it back, in an hour or 2, whatever you think you need. So George came back, and the professor's desk was just a mess. There was papers all over, and he just laid it on top with all the rest, and he walked out. He went home and fell asleep exhausted in bed, and no sooner did he get to sleep when his door started bang, 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 bang. And he got up and he goes, who is it? And the professor said, open the door, George, open the door. And he opened the door, and here's his professor holding his paper. He says, George, do you realize what you did? He goes, no, what? What did I do? Did I fail? What? And he goes, no, George, you solved all 3 proofs. And he goes, yeah, that was the test. And he goes, no, George, you weren't there for the beginning of the class. I told the class the first 2 are the proofs you have to prove to pass the class. The last one is one that Einstein went to his grave, never having been able to prove. He says, nobody on earth has been able to prove this third one. I gave it to you of the class just as a going away gift from me. George, you solved it. You did it, George. How did you do it? And they both sat and they drank coffee and they talked. And George said, oh man, if I'd been in class and if I'd have heard you say that the third one was optional, he said, I probably wouldn't have even tried. I would have been like everybody else. He says, I thought it was part of acing the test. I did it. What would you attempt to do if you knew you could not fail? What would we as humanity do if we knew we could not fail? I'll leave you with this. The greatest work you will ever accomplish is your mind unaffected by circumstances. It's not a job. It's not a career. It's not about acquiring power, glory, or wealth. It's not gaining all knowledge and information to be the most educated. It's not exposing government corruption, promoting freedom, or living your religion. It's not even helping and serving others. It's not climbing the highest mountain or diving into the depths of the deepest sea or performing the greatest music, dance, or creating the most majestic architecture. The greatest work you will ever do is accomplishing yourself. Why? Because after that, you will know how to act. You will know how to conduct yourself in the best way, no matter what your situation, your circumstance, or your goal. When I say work on yourself, it means work to be in charge of your avatar. This is simply your avatar, my friends. This isn't what you go to heaven in. This is what you occupy while you're here. It's your avatar. You give it its motion, its mobility. It's your vehicle. It means to work to be in charge of your shadow being, your ego, your mind and emotions, the body, the natural man. Work to transcend its needs, wants, and desires. If your joy cannot be disturbed, whether you have or do not have what you need, want, desire, you have then transcended your ego mind, your emotions, your avatar. If you're in the same mental and emotional condition, whether you have or do not have water, food, shelter, comfort, family, friends, success, failure, or whatever happens, and you totally enjoy whatever condition or circumstances you are in, then you are like Jesus said, you are free. What did he have? Did he have baggage he had to tote behind him wherever he went? He had one outfit, one pair of shoes, and 12 guys that followed him around. And he manifested everything he needed. He was happy whether he had it or not. In other words, when you have, you enjoy it. When you do not have, you don't miss it. The work you do on yourself is the greatest work you can do. Why? Because the results affect everything else in your life. When your peace, joy, bliss, and ecstasy are undisturbed, no matter what people say or do, no matter what situation or circumstances you are in, whether you have or have not, you have transcended the natural man that you have entered at birth. You have transcended all the programs, the brainwashing, the indoctrination, the propaganda, the beliefs, the jokes that Randy tells, the theories, the opinions, biases, prejudices, and conclusions of others that were force-fed by your parents, relatives, school, media, and government since birth. On the other hand, if you are not at peace, even while living in what we consider the best place in the world to be, the freest place, then you are a slave of the natural man, the ego mind emotions that you entered at birth. So what does really, everything I just said, what does it really mean? It means that you literally can walk through the valley of the shadow of life and death, and you can pack a lunch, and you can enjoy the journey no matter what the destination, whether it be heaven or hell, here or hereafter. And you ask, is there more? Well, of course there's more. God has revealed that. Whenever we find the smallest thing that's possibly defined, there's 1,000 things smaller than that. When we look at the biggest thing, then we realize that there's 1,000 things bigger than that. So it never ends either way. But for most folks, that challenge to enjoy all that is life, no matter what happens, is challenge enough. Enough for the day. So I want to leave you with something very simple. I know we always talk about meditation and meditating and getting in that meditative state, but how many of you are like me, you have a monkey mind? You just start to get into the meditation, and all of a sudden, boom, your mind goes in overdrive, and all of a sudden this stuff is popping in, and it's disrupting your beautiful flow. And so I want to just give you a real simple exercise that you can do any moment of any day, and it doesn't require a lot of time. You can do it anywhere, except when you're driving. Don't do it when you're driving. So just find your place here and now. Just find your place here and now. Be in this moment. Be in this chair. Be in this place. And if you have thoughts that are present, just leave them be. Just look at them like presents on a table. And it's just like, yeah, I'll get to you later. I'll open you later. And offer yourself 2 simple phrases of kindness toward your mind. Breathe in, and as you breathe out, simply say, may my mind be at ease. Breathe in, and simply say, may I be at ease with my mind. One of them or both of them. As you breathe in, may my mind be at ease. Breathe in, may I be at ease with my mind. Hear each word and try to connect with your own intention to care for your mind. When the thinking mind starts up, come back to the breath. Come back to the phrases. May my mind be at ease. May I be at ease with my mind. And you'll find that you can do it for longer and longer periods of time. Even if you can say only one phrase before the mind wanders, you are still moving forward. You are still gaining in your ability to control and transcend your avatar. May my mind be at ease. May I be at ease with my mind. Now bring her back to this moment of reality, this moment of now. Realize you have a tool, but you can use it any time to ease your mind, to rest your mind, to relax your whole being. And watch your mind during the day. When you feel like you're getting stressed or you feel fear creeping in, just take a moment. And may my mind be at ease. And may I be at ease with my mind. Heavenly Creator, source of all that is. Wow. Have you ever created something amazing? And I know that you just like playmates, and so you've created different aspects of yourself, individual, of course, look at us, and you just want us to wake up and just become participants in the game. You want us to grow back to you, come closer to you, to simply love and honor the oneness that we all are. What an amazing journey. We're so blessed to be a part of it. Blessed to have guides on the other side that stay behind to give us clues along the way. How amazing. That still small voice from our soul that exists outside of us, that constantly knows and experiences the truth. And we can access it anytime we choose. We simply have to know and believe and trust. We thank you for this moment of now. We thank you for this grand experience that we call life. And we thank you for all of us. In this we pray. Amen.